And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Between Two Wheels podcast. Thank you for joining us. Today's show, we're going to talk about a few things. The first week of the Vuelta is done and dusted. We're going to go over stages 1 through 9, crashes, surprises, actually a lot of really great racing. With that, there's going to be a new segment of What Would Jesus Do? You might pronounce it Jesus. Transfer market update. We'll update you on the Colorado Classic, give you a summary of what took place there. In the NCNCA, the Northern California racing, we're going to cover some winters and Coppertown, some things that make you go, winners and losers. Here we go. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This is Tyler Janke, your host of the Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 142. As I said, thanks for joining. Sorry I'm solo. Look, it's holiday weekends. Curt is off in the mountains doing his thing. Chris was busy riding. We're trying to get together. It's not always easy. Look, I have work. Chris has work. Curt has work. We love cycling. We talk about it all the time. And even in our own life. So we're watching the stage this morning, stage 9, quite the eventful situation. But what I thought we'd do, and we'll go over that because that's the most recent, but just give a recap of stages 1 through 9 of the Vuelta itself and give you an idea of kind of some takes here and there. If you haven't been fully paying attention, we'll get you all caught up and back into the limelight of what is going on in the Vuelta. Okay, Tour of Spain starts down there on the southern Med Coast area. Pretty awesome looking, and there was this race has a lot of great climbing, usually the shorter stuff, and they like to dive into it pretty quick. They're also well known for doing a team time trial to start out the tour. They've done that with the Giro several times as well. Short team time trial. They did this one a few years ago, and there was they went on a beach section. It was sandy. There was some concern about it. It turned out to be okay. It wasn't too much of an issue. This time, look, they like to take these TTs through these little towns. That's exactly what they did. I think it was like a 14K time trial. It could have been, the winning times were around 14 minutes. Let's just remember that. Anyway, they're coming through. Teams are setting good times. Espana's up there on a good time. They're one of the later teams to go. But you have UAE and look, you knew there's going to be trouble when UAE and you had two big wrecks. UAE, Team Jumbo Visma, they both go down. Jumbo Visma goes down. UAE ends up losing about a minute in total for most of their riders. Gaviria, I think, lost around 2, 3, 4, something like that. You had, I think he was 5 minutes, actually. I think he was the one that lost the most time that day. Second most was Sepp Kuss and I think Neilson Powless, they were close to the back 10 riders there. Sepp Kuss had a early mechanical, comes off, and then the team's flying through this corner. It's got a little bit of water. It's a slight lefty, kind of a little more of a bend, and the whole team just piles up. In that pile up, you got Roglic, you got Neilson Powless in the front, Steven Kruijswijk goes down, everyone goes down. They get back up, they reformulate. They end up losing 40 seconds that day to Espana, who took the win. UAE came around that same spot. They had a crash. Other teams did not, and it was a cluster because you started to have DeQuan Quick Step. They went down in a wreck on a corner. Then they come around another corner, and the team cars there trying to help. I don't know if it was Roglic it was Sepp Kuss again, trying to still refix his mechanical. So they swerved out of the way. And I don't know, Philippe Gilbert said, look, we wouldn't, because they lost the overall, I think, by a second or two. He's like, look, we would have won the race if it hadn't have been for a Jumbo Visma car. And I'm like, did you forget about the wreck your team had? That wasn't it. It was the Jumbo Visma car. It's always interesting what people throw out there as part of their excuses. Either way, Jumbo Visma goes out. Look, so it came out. There was some. It was right near the coast there, and little coastal town. It kind of reminded me of like some things you'd see in Santa Cruz, near like where we have the Santa Cruz Classic. But someone was, I guess, either watering their flowers or their garden, or there was another report that it was some kid's pool. Either way, the hose broke or something, and all this water's come gushing across the road, and the riders couldn't do much to avoid it. Plus, there was a little bit of a white paint there. They came around the corner, hit a little bit of the white paint on the road paintings, and it's washed out. A little worried that it was Neilson Powless that maybe took that team down, but upon further review, and look, the Eurosport people seem to be complaining that it was, but further review, it looks like Roglic is on the front, and there's just not. And look, UAE team goes down, other teams go down, so look, you feel bad, but what have you? As it appears, they lose 40 seconds, which isn't so great. UAE loses about a minute, which isn't great for Dan Martin, and we'll talk about Pogacar because he was on the team as well. Aru as well was a UAE, and Steven Kruijswijk obviously goes, and so there's some disarray. But you think, okay, Roglic, if he's riding well enough, he's time trialing well, maybe this is more exciting, and it just puts everything back into perspective. Well, so then you had stage 2, Benidorm to Calp, and the winner that day was Nairo Quintana. But what you had was a little bit of a climb. Look, everyone's saying this could be Sam Bennett's day. It looks like a climb that's not too bad, but man, it looked like it was like they said, 9-12%, something like that, for like 3, 4, 5K. And it was brutal enough. You had Hugh Carthy starting out there and some other riders. They started, Lopez was hitting the front, Nairo Quintana, Stephen Roach, Roglic, Roberto Urán, Fabio Aru, and Mikel Nieve, all with a break up on everybody. At one point, Nieve comes around a roundabout, and he almost high-sides it. He gains control again, but at that point, he's out of it. You can tell he's a little stunned. He's got to make up a gap. He's not doing it. Nairo has attacked, and he's up the road. And I was a little curious because you had Stephen Roach now has a chance to take the overall. He's not really pulling too much. Everyone should be just like dead set on getting up the road and not letting Nairo get away because they all had reasons to move. And actually up until Nairo attacked, they all had reasons to anyway, gaining time over Lopez. As it was, Nairo gets up the road. He gets to win. He gets to post up. Nicholas Roach gets second. Roglic in third. Urán, Aru, Nieve, and then Higuita for EF Education First comes in around 37 seconds back from Nairo, and Nairo is 5 seconds up on everyone else. So instantly the day turns around, and you've got a change from the previous day where Roglic has lost 40 seconds. Now suddenly he's moved up to sixth place. He's only 30-some seconds out of first place with Stephen Roach, Quintana. It's looking good. It's mixing it in there, and he's got a much more advantage, I would imagine, over on the time trial over the ones that he was in the move with, except for Rigoberto Urán. Than he does some of the ones he just gained time. So for me on Roglic, it's kind of an interesting, and I'm always going to kind of put it back into perspective of him having possibly 40 seconds to a minute advantage on the 30-some K time trial that we're going to have coming up tomorrow. Stage 3, we had Equidad del Gigante to Licante. That was totally a sprinter stage. And as it comes out, Sam Bennett, Boro Hansgrohe, finally gets his big tour, Grand Tour win this year at the Vuelta. He was shut out from even going to the Giro. He didn't get to go there. He didn't get to go to the Tour. He gets to go to the Vuelta, and he's head and shoulders above anybody that's else in there. Edwin Toynes in second, Luka Mezgit. And look, so you're not having great Ricchesi, Jacobsen. I mean, there's some decent sprinters there. Walsheed, but but you're not having an amazing group that you always have at the Tour, or even what kind of was at the Giro with Caleb Ewing and some of the others. So Sam Bennett gets his win. Good for him. Roach stays in the overall lead as well. Stage 4, Couleur to El Puig. Once again, another sprint stage. That one you saw Sam Bennett taking the wrong side of the roundabout. Look, I know they do the recon, but he goes a long way around. He moves from like 5th, 6th spot back to 20th. He's working his way. And then as they hit the front and they're doing the full-on sprint, Jacobsen is in the lead for DuQuoin Quick Step. He's looking very good, and Sam Bennett is making a rush on the outside, but he can't quite get there and in time, and Jacobsen actually gets the win. Sam Bennett does get second place, Walsheed in third. And look, it was another good sprint for everybody. Nicholas Roach stays in the lead after stage 4. And it was really close. The finish there was like a bike throw, millimeters for Jacobsen, young guy. Good to see him get the win, and also good to see that Sam Bennett, which we don't have, as he hasn't solidified what he's doing for next year. Evidently still looking for, I guess he wants to leave Bora, or does he want to sign with them? I'm not sure, but they're saying that they still have a contract. Well, they don't have a contract, but evidently he's made some overtures. So they think that they still may have him. Is he going to be going to Duquoin Quick Step? That's the thought. We don't know yet. We're still everyone kind of waiting in reserves. So we're going to see what happens. Stage 5. So stage 5, we start to look. This is what I love about the Vuelta. Stage 2 already. You had a bunch of climbing. The GC riders are out in force. They're making hay. They're causing havoc, and it's great. That's stage 2. Stage 5. Once again, we're going to have a climb. It's going to be tearing it up as well. And that's Ileana to the observatory. I'm not going to say what this is because I can't pronounce it. But what you end up there, you get in a break. You've got 3 guys up the road going into the final climb. There's more than that, but they ended up whittling it down to those 3 are going to be staying away. 2 of them are teammates from Burgos BH. That's Madrazo, Ruiz, Angel Madrazo. Look, he looks just like McLovin, if you ever seen the pictures, and from Superbad. So he got that guy. He got his teammates, Bull Jets, and then Jesus Arata is with them as well. They hit the bottom of the climb. Jesus Arata, his brother is Jose Arata, pretty decent climber in his own right. Both of them ride for Cofidis. Anyway, here you have Jesus, and he looks like the much better climber because Madraza, who has the climber's jersey at the time, is suffering. And with him suffering, you've got him coming off the wheel. Then his team car is almost taking him out. But his teammate, Bull Jets, is actually riding pretty much better, but he's hanging on the back, and he's a big guy. So, I mean, Harada's like, I've got this in the bag. He's dropped Madraza, I think it was 3 or 4 times, but in the last K, and he never makes a move himself. He should have just got rid of the Bull guy, but he doesn't. Jets Bull, and instead Madraza comes back to him, and as soon as he does, inside the 1K, he holds on for a little bit, and then he takes off when they get it started, and it's still pitchy all the way to the finish, and he holds everybody off, and then you see Jets Bull coming through for second place. So Burgos BH goes 1-2. Jesus Harada, horrible finish as far as what I think what he did there. But then further back down the road, you had a good GC battle. Lopez, Alejandro Valverde, Roglic, Pogacar, Quintana. And geez, we're going to talk about this even more, is Movistar and their team. So the day, look, you've got Nairo. Gets in the break that second day and gets up the road, wins the stage. He looks good. He looks like the guy to be going for. So then the next day, it's kind of reversed. He's losing time. You've got Valverde, and that doesn't look like either one of them are riding for each other. Who knows what you got there? But in the overall, Lopez gets back up into the red jersey. He's now the second guy, or the in the lead for the race. Astana. This guy's going to be yo-yoing back and forth out of this jersey, back and forth. Once again, Madrazo, McLovin, great result for him. Not so good, and his teammate, especially for a small Conti team. And then Jesus Serrata with the mistake of the day. All right, so stage 6 is kind of a little redemption for the Cofidis team and the Harada family itself. Mora de Ribelas to Arias del Maestrat. This day you get Dylan Toynes off in a break. He's got the break gets a big. They're going to stay away, and he gets up the road, and he's got a chance for the red jersey, and he's got Jose Harada that day on his wheel. That's the brother to Jesus. Now, what would Jesus do? That's what we're talking about here. The whole Jose at least takes it under his belt to do the opposite and sits on the wheel, knowing that Toynes is going to be the one driving it to the finish because he's going to want to have the red jersey. Look, Toynes, I think if it was a straight-up battle between these two, he's probably the one that's going to get the win. But in this case, he's driving to the line as much as possible. They're getting in 400 or 500 meters to the finish. Harada jumps him, goes over the top easily, and gets the win. Actually holds him off by 7 seconds in the finish. Great job for him. He gets the win. Nothing changes elsewhere. And we have the GC guys come in at 5:44 later. Nairo, Lopez, Valverde, everyone up there doing just fine, save for a few little things. On the day, he had EF education first. Well, first of all, stage 5, Rigoberto Urán had gone down. His own teammate, Docker, had crashed. crashed him out. Actually, not crashed him out of the race, but had gone down, caused the wreck, caused Rigoberto to go down himself. Docker, I heard an interview. He was pretty despondent about that, what he had done. Either way, in Iran, I think that was maybe a few days ago, because Iran, the next day when Madraza, he lost some time, but he was kind of still hanging in the mix. Then on the stage 6, TJ Van Garderen gets up in the break. They're looking pretty good. Meanwhile, back in the pack, you've got Kruijswijk. I'm not sure which day, but we'll talk about that. Kruijswijk drops out with a knee trouble. Matter of fact, I think he's dropped out on stage 3, because what you saw from that point, as soon as he's out of the picture, you start to see Valverde stepping in for Kruijswijk just fine. He brings his own teammate back. That's what I was saying. You just have some weird dynamics with Movistar. So while Jumbo Visma may have lost Kruijswijk, they have Valverde kind of helping him out. And we'll talk about what he did on stage 9 as well. Anyway, there's so much crashing. Some other people crashed out. You had, but Uran crashes out. Some of his other, Logan Owen goes down. They're off to the hospital. Hugh Carthy goes out as well in this big crash. Then you have TJ Van Garderen up in the break, and they crest this hill, and one of the riders, there was 2 kickers to the finish, and this is the second to last one, and he's chasing, and he goes over the top of the climb, and they have maybe 20K or so to go. Next thing you know, they come around this corner. He is in these rocks and these bushes, he being TJ. He's gone down. He ends up 20 minutes back on the day. He ends up pulling out the next day near the start. So, look, EF Education at first is just flying right now as a team. What I mean by that is they are literally in flight right now, heading home from the race. They are just getting waxed everywhere. Now, I will say Sepp van Mark won for them today, so they at least have a little bit of things going. But I don't even know how many I know Higuita is still in the race for him. I think Lawson Craddock is still in the race, but I don't really know who else is there. So pretty devastating for them in general. I mean, last few years you've had Rigobert Uran, he crashes out of the Tour, he crashed out of this race, the Vuelta. What other race did he crash out of? The Vuelta or the Giro again? I mean, he's having all kinds of trouble, and it's too bad for them in general. Either way, Jose Herrada redeems his brother. Dylan Teuns gets in the red jersey. Then we have stage 7, Onda to Mas de la Costa. Like I said, Steven Kruijswijk is out, but luckily you have Alejandro Valverde stepping in, and he ends up getting the win that day. There's a good break for the breakdown for the GC riders. They get rid of Teuns. He can't handle this climb. It's pretty nasty. In the end, it's Valverde, Roglic, Lopez, and Nairo Quintana. There's 4 left in the race, and they battle it out to the finish. Valverde takes the win. Roglic gets second, and they both distance Lopez and Nairo Quintana just a bit. Pogacar comes in 7th place. Aru's there. George Bennett. And look, this is another one of those days where you saw that the team of Jumbo Visma is they're doing much better than they did at the Giro. Now it's the first, not even half of the race, so we'll see how the rest of it goes. But as far as what Sepp Kuss has been able to do, I mean, he's lighting it up and doing some great work near the end of the race for this team. Sam Bennett is still, I think, in the top 15 or so overall. If he continues to move up, that gives them 2 people to kind of play off of each other. But you've got Neilson Powless still stepping in. Robert Hessink is still there. So the team is doing well. And like I said, Kruijswijk is out, but some of the stuff is neutralized when Sepp is gone and Roglic is there and he needs someone to chase down Nairo. He's usually got Alejandro Valverde to help step in and save the day, which was it's been happening. So after stage 7, Lopez gets the yellow jersey, the red jersey. He's in the lead. Primož Roglic in second at 6 seconds. Valverde 16 seconds. Quintana 27 seconds. Then you got Micah, Pogacar, Chavez 2-something. George Bennett 8th place 3:34. Wilco Kelderman, Higuita and 15th place for EF Education first. So a good smattering. Then yesterday's stage, a little rainy. You had stage 8, Vals to Igualada, and who we had there was Nikias Arndt. That was a breakaway. bunch of guys coming down to the finish. You had Peter Stetten in there trying to get away with about 20K to go for the Trek Segafredo team. Was clawed back, and some of the, it just wasn't, I think, it's climby, but just not too much where some of these bigger guys can stay in there, because you had, in the end, Nikias Arndt of Sunweb with the win. The Cadre Real rider goes in second, Alexander Aranabru, Tosh van der Sander, Ruben Guerrero, Jonas Koch, Dylan Toynes back in there, 6th place, but you ended up with the red jersey to Nicholas Ide of the Cofidis team. Now, it was interesting when they're coming down to the finish over the top of the climb. It's the rain's hitting. Sunweb rider is going through the roundabout. He's off in the lead just a little bit, and he slides out. And you're going to see this happening. I mean, it's this kind of weather. But then you saw a motorbike. One of the cameramen, he went out as well. So it was a tough day. Stetina, top American there, 12th place, same time as the winner. There's no chance he was going to be able to sprint with those guys. But it was good to see him up in the mix and doing well. So good for Peter. And goes into stage 9, last day before the rest day. Andorra Lavel to Cortals d'Encamp. So this is basically all in and around Andorra, and famous resident there that lives there currently, Dan Martin, not in the race, but he evidently said he was on the phone last night to Tadej Pogacar for about 30 minutes, describing all the climbs. Like, it's just, all it is climby around there, and it's wet, and that's what they were expecting. And today, great. I mean, and also the stage was 93 kilometers. So you're looking at, just over 60 some miles, and 3 big climbs. So they start out with a climb, come down, come another climb, come down, and then the final pitch to the finish. And it kind of had a 2-step and then a finishing pitch, which was going to obviously cause a lot of trouble. There was a breakaway early, and the breakaway, this was so strategic. Now, the race was fast from the start as well, but it was very strategic for several teams. You had some Espana riders up there. You had some Movistar riders up there. You had 3, I think, yes, you had 3 of the Jumbo Visma riders. You had Neilson Powless, you had Sepp Kuss, and you had Robert Essink. I mean, probably their top 3 climbing domestiques up the road. And it all came into play. And then about 4K to the finish, there was going to be this gravel section. Well, they did have it. And then there was going to be bad weather. So this race starts out. Their groups are going up the road. Astana's hitting the gas. Next thing you know, it's just all falling to pieces. Some riders are coming back, helping their teammates. First, you have Hessink coming back, and he's helping. But about 18K, the fireworks start on the last climb. Nairo, some of these other ones are hitting the front. They're pulling, and all of a sudden Lopez breaks out, and he takes off gets a pretty good gap, 30 some seconds, up to about 40, I think. And his premise is, I'm going to go from 18K. Now, I don't know if he didn't know the route great or if he did know it, but that's a hefty attempt. 18K of climbing to try to get away, and in this weather when you've got all these guys from behind. So, look, what you're going to do is hopefully not blow yourself up chasing him down. If you're one of these guys from behind, kind of meter your efforts and see what happens. Well, what you end up having is a shit show from what I think from Movistar. Now, maybe I put this out on Twitter. Movistar played 3D chess. This whole term of thinking that maybe they're thinking another level above everybody else, and they end up getting their guy in the red at the end of the day. But I almost think it's more by accident, because there's some stuff that goes on here. I mean, you've got Nairo comes out of there, he's attacking, and as that's happening, like I said, Hessink comes down. Then you have the group was whittling down. They're still trying to chase Lopez. The brake's still up the road. And as they're trying to chase Lopez, you've got Nairo starts to attack. Then you've got Valverde countering off of that. Sometimes he's not necessarily countering. Sometimes he's attacking before he's coming back. But either way, it's actually putting Roglic in trouble. Well, it should be, but Roglic is reacting quite well for all this. In the midst of this, then there's a section where he looks to be having some more problems. Neilson Powless comes back to the group, just as George Bennett's kind of getting tagged off, and Neilson Powless is up there for a few minutes setting the pace so that Roglic can come off the front, because he's all of a sudden set to the spot where he's going to have to be setting pace. Then we have some trouble with the weather. The weather starts so bad. There's hail, there's tons of rain, and it's so poor that we lose all kinds of broadcast. We don't know what's going on. There's Ben O'Connor from Dimension Data. He's up the road. Marc Soler's up the road from Movistar. There's this gravel section. As the cameras are disappearing, you're kind of seeing, is Ben O'Connor in the lead? Is Soler in the lead? We don't know, because there's getting to some visions of that. You still had Lopez with maybe a 40-second gap. You had Nairo. You had Sepp Kuss. You had, because Sepp Kuss comes back for Roglic now. And Sepp Kuss with Roglic, Pogacar, and they're still trying to chase Lopez. All of a sudden, the lights come back on from the broadcast being dark for a while, and Lopez is with the main group. Roglic is off the back. You've got Nairo and Valverde off the front now. So Lopez has come back to the group somehow. Now he's with that group, but then that group's splintering off, and you have Nairo and Valverde up the road. And then behind them is Roglic kind of all by himself, because as they come back on, he's getting rid of Sepp Kuss. So it looks like, I'm like, oh, wow, what's going on here? It looks like, okay, Lopez has fallen. They're out of the gravel section. Lopez has fallen. Roglic actually looks fine. He's riding really strong, but he's chasing. Okay, so then you start to break this down. Lopez stays with that group. Nairo and Valverde are going up the road. Next thing you know, Valverde is not going up the road, and Nairo is. Then they're yelling at Soler. Soler is now in the lead. They're yelling at him to come back. As that's happening, Roglic is starting to make gains and to come back to the group. So now Valverde comes back. So you got this main section of group with Lopez. Up the road now is Pogacar and Nairo. Valverde's in the group. Roglic starts to getting to the group. Valverde starts to chase down Nairo, pulling the group back. It's a mess. And then Soler, he's shaking his head. He's yelling into his microphone. The team is obviously telling him, you've got to come back and help Nairo. Okay, so what do you do here? You've got the team wants him to come back. It's pretty steep. It's pretty good climbing. I don't know how much help he's going to have. Is he going to stay away? But he's obviously not happy about it. I mean, he is displaying this fit, and as Curt told me today on texting me, he said Nathan Lane even thinks that Soler is being a little dramatic. So look, he's going over the top, not wanting to do this, but he comes back to the group, to Nairo and Pogacar, and as soon as he about gets there, Pogacar attacks, drops them both, and goes up the road, almost like, and then that just pissed Soler off even more. He's like, I'm here and you can't hold this guy's wheel, and I came back for you. Well, I think it obviously would have shown that Soler probably would have been caught by Pogacar as well. But Pogacar goes up the road. Now Soler's pulling for Nairo. At this point, Roglic has made contact. They're inside, 3-4K. And then Roglic starts making his way up the road. Next thing you know, Roglic is getting rid of Lopez. Lopez, like I said, he took off at 18. I don't know. Well, the reality is, they come through the gravel section. We're going to back up a second here and give you highlights of what we found out after the fact. Come through the gravel section. I guess there's a moto involved in the road. Lopez goes down. Roglic goes down. I don't know if they had caught Lopez by this point. The point is, they were both held up for this. There was a wreck, obviously. I don't know how much damage. If Lopez had been further up the road, doesn't matter. That's what happened. So, looking like Roglic maybe didn't ride that well, or he didn't have a good day, or Lopez, it's hard to tell because they both actually did fine. Matter of fact, Roglic with the ride of the day, because he gets back to that group, then he goes through that group. He does take Valverde with him, good loyal teammate that he is, and they're both chasing down Nairo. Pogacar cannot be caught. He gets the win. Second place with another time bonus is Nairo at 23 seconds. And then Roglic comes through 48 seconds, gets the third time bonus over Valverde. And once again, Valverde being the good teammate that he is, he does not take the time bonus away from Roglic, because, if he would have easily jumped over him, as we all know that Valverde has a better sprint, he could have jumped over him and taken the time bonus. He did the good thing and allowed his new teammate Roglic to take it. Now Soler, he came back very mad, shaking his head, didn't want to do it, gets on the front for Nairo, does a lot of good work there, and then when he pulls off, he flails about. He is pissed off, and he's not happy about the situation. It was not professional. There was only one point of professionality about him, was the fact that he came back and actually did a hard bunch of work, but his complaints during this time, and I guess, there's a big split in that team between your Spanish riders and your love and hate of the Colombian, or at least specifically this Colombian, being Nairo Quintana. So who knows what that, like I said, this team was a complete shit show today. And I was laughing and I was enjoying it. And then they come away with Quintana getting in the red jersey. So, they have this, they're magical. They're magical in the way that they subdue you. And they, like I said, is it 3D chess? Maybe it's 4D Hungry Hippo, a different game and a different dimension altogether. Once again, congratulations to Pogacar, 20-year-old rider, winner of the Tour of California this year, makes great in the rain and on this completely crazy climb, comes over the finish, starts really kissing this girl. She's blonde, and the announcers say, "Is that his girlfriend?" Hey, he just won the race. Maybe it's not, but he confirmed later on that it was. So Pogacar, 5th place, Soler, 57 seconds. Look, maybe he would have stayed away. The dude's won beer before. So you have Quintana in first, Roglic in second, 6 seconds back, Lopez 17 seconds, Valverde 20, Pogacar minute 42. Ide dropped all the way down to 7th place at 2:21. That's not bad for the guy that had the red jersey there. Kelderman, Toynes, this is the top 10. Fulsang, he had helped out Lopez pretty good today as well. He's up to 18th. Soler is the top 20. George Bennett, 15th place. Chavez, we didn't talk about him, but he had a bike change on was it the last climb? Maybe the second to last climb. But he had a flat tire, like 2 flats. He gets Damien Housen's bike, and the guy's like super tall, and Chavez is super short, so he had like a 60-centimeter frame. I think he was riding the top tube, and then he finally got another change, and Grubet, his teammate, helped claw him back up. So, he ended up losing a bunch of time today, but he actually looked pretty good because he closes that gap, but then he's a little gassed trying to hold on. So good for him, and not so good for him. But look, when you hear that guy being interviewed, he is so positive. He's a cool guy, Chavez, that is. And look, now they have a rest day, and then coming up you have the individual time trial for stage 10 on Tuesday, 36.2 kilometers. Pretty roll. They got a few little risers and one little hump in the middle, and then flat. 36.2. I imagine Roglic is going to rip that one apart. As far as the top guys go, you might see Valverde do well. Who else? Fulsang, but he's not really in contention right now. So other than that, rest day, time trial, a few flat days. You got another climbing on Friday. Saturday looks okay, and then another good Sunday before the rest day. So we'll get some more brutal climbing in here on the Vuelta. All right. Let's move on to some other news and then get you out of here. Colorado Classic was just recently women's only. They used to be the Cycling Pro Classic out there in Colorado, men's stage race, but it's been is it upgraded or just swapped for women only? This year it was dominated by Chloe Dygert of the Team 2020, and she won all 4 stages. Now there's 2 ways. There's many ways you can think of this. One is you can go, wow, not only that, she won every jersey. So dominant that, and the announcers took this mode. It was amazing to watch this race due to Chloe Dygert's dominance. Now, I'll say this. Chloe's an amazing rider, and she's got an amazing, she's come on the scene when she was 16 there doing some track events. She just won a gold at the Pan Am Games, I think, in the individual and then the team pursuit, I think it was. She's obviously incredibly talented. and the commentators highlighted that thing. My more disappointment was in her dominance showed the lack of competition in the race. There was Katie Hall was there, and I don't know if she was ready for this, but look, they had a flat day. That's when Chloe Dygert gets away. Then they had this big ass mountain climbing day, and Chloe Dygert gets away. And then they have a circuit race, and Chloe Dygert gets away. And then they had a shorter circuit race, and Chloe Dygert gets away. So she basically won everything in a little breakaway. And like the last day when they're chasing, I took some snapshots of it from watching it. They're spread out across the road. This is not how you chase someone down. I mean, yes, Chloe's good, but you'd think few riders get together. She's only got 30 seconds or so lead. Maybe you string this out so it's single file. There's no single file riding. So the competition was just lacking. And that was, to me, it was actually, I was so disappointed because Chloe is an amazing rider and she deserves to be lauded this way, but she deserves to have it with good competition. It just reminded me of like when these pros come out and do some of our group rides and they smash us, as they should. EF Education First, they didn't went out to Utah and they didn't kill. I mean, they got 2 stage wins there at the end, but they didn't win the overall. And you don't expect that. And it wasn't the same guy winning every day either. Why? I mean, the competition is just a little closer. And anyway, as this is happening, Marianne Vos is winning similarly over in Europe, but maybe it would be good I would like to see all that come together to a good stage race, because the venue and the way that they put it on the race was actually pretty exciting. So I don't want to gloss over that. I just want the competition to be better and to be able to sing the praises of Chloe Dygert and her Owens in her fantastic win, and do it in a sense that you're like, okay, well, she's racing against people besides just collegiate cyclists. All right, let's do some transfer market, just some updates here of what we have. Everything that we've talked about before, I think we've pretty much confirmed what we have there. Enric Mas from DeQuinta Quick-Step to Movistar. Elia Viviani, DeQuinta Quick-Step to Cofidis. That's an interesting one. Nathan Haas is also going with him to Cofidis from Katusha. Leonard Kamna from Sunweb to Bora. Magnus Curt Nielsen from Astana to EF Education First. So that'd be really good with Sepp and Mark, kind of giving some of their early season Spring Classics team a little bump there. Danny Van Poppel, Jumbo Visma, down to Wanty Gobert. Still haven't heard anything from Neilson Powless. He's riding his first tour. He's 24? 22? Maybe he's 22, and Sepp is 24. I think that's the way it is. Young kid. He still deserves a chance. He's not quite riding to the same level as Sepp Kuss, but today he actually today was his move, and being up the road was hard because it wasn't your typical break. It was kind of attrition that got you guys up the road first. And then it was just, came back and he did the right thing at the right time, and perfect when Roglic really needed him. And obviously Roglic could have used him later as well. But, at that point, everybody's kind of smattered all over the mountain. So good job for Nielsen. It's not like he's just anonymous at this race. So nothing else on the transfer market, but we'll keep you updated on that as things come along. Okay, Winters. Look, we did the Winters road race out here in we're going to do some Northern California stuff, and we had that last weekend. It's pretty warm, and I did the 35 plus 1, 2, 3, and with that was a lot of these guys came back from nationals, and they were flying. And they decided to, and we're like, okay, Winters road race, it's like 75 miles. There's this climb in the middle. It's like 12 minutes for us or so, a little under, a little over, depending on which group you got. And I'm 35 plus, and it's not for the first 30, 40 minutes till you kind of hit that climb. It's about an hour loop, and first 30 minutes, it's just balls out. I mean, it's just on. Chris said that it was some of the highest power outputs he's done in the 30-minute range. I was feeling that way. I was starting to come off the back. So we hit the first climb. There's already a break up the road. It's got 2 guys that have been in nationals, which were Chris Colbel and his team, Will Riffelmacher. It's got another guy from Cortex who I wasn't quite sure of. And then Mark Tucker from Fresno, Revs Road Race, presented by Kinetic Cycles. That guy is somewhat new to cycling, and he is a beast. Very strong. He won Bariani this year, just tearing everybody apart. So he gets in the break. Those guys, Dennis Wall was the other guy, and they started just drilling it, and they got a minute or so, I think, on us. We went over the first climb. I had a lot of trouble getting up over the climb. We whittled the group down to like 13 or so at that point, the chasing group. But it started to work well because no one in the group had a teammate up the road. So there's Thirsty Bear that misses it. There's Data Driven Athlete that misses it. There was, 2 of us in there. The Olympic Club was up the road. We had one Pete's, and then there's a bunch of Sierra Nevadas and some other 1-2 Tarun and some other ones in there. So everyone's working well on lap 2. Coming to the climb, I think we're down by 2 minutes. You think you're maybe pulling back a little bit better, but go up the climb. Climb is about the same pace. Once again, I suffer, but I do a little bit better at the end. Hang on to the group. I'm like, okay, well now, look, last lap, I get in position for my guy Chris. I don't know if I'll be able to make it up the climb with everybody the last time, so let's just work a little harder. So we start out the lap 3, and I'm trying to work hard with Michael Claudio and a few others, but other guys are just sitting in. Next thing you know, Michael Claudio, Thirsty Bear, drifts up the road. He's gone. No one really chases him, and he stays away. As it turns out, Will Rifflemacher, he ends up, I think, taking off on the climb. He gets first place. His teammate Chris Colville in second. Dennis Wall and Mark Tucker, I think, third and fourth. I think they said that Tucker just sold out. He was pretty jazzed, and I'll have to maybe see if I can talk to him about this, but he was pretty jazzed, I think, to be in the group, and he was just going full force. So, look, as we came around that third lap, people were jumping up the road. They kept trying to attack, but no one was really pulling. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. And what's going to happen is you're going to start having a smattering of people go up the road, and it was just pace was coming back and forth, but no one really makes any concentrated efforts. So I just sat on the front from kind of the start-finish area to the climb. I just tapped out a pace a little harder than anybody really wanted to go themselves. No one wanted to sit in the front. And then I just pulled off when the climb came, and my teammate Curt went up the road, and he kind of faltered in the finish. I think he said he lost like 3 or 4 places, kind of cramping. He got 9th, but we had Michael Claudio stayed away. Look, if you look at the pictures too, Claudio, a lot of posting up there for 5th place. That's well done. Maybe you could give us some input as to why. I know you knew the break was up the road, so was this a joke, or were you just really, really happy for 5th place post up? So a 5th place post up is not often seen, but David Fieldler, Divine Electric, Scott Cox in 7th, J-Man Wright, Chris Flower, Pierre Barry, Grunman, myself down there in 16th, a lot of DMPs and some others. Look, good hard day. I'm glad I finished. It was and look, it was a fun day for everybody out there. I mean, I enjoyed being out there with those guys. The Sierra Nevada guys that were there rode hard. It was fun. Thirsty Bear, they rode really well. And really congratulations to 2 Olympic Club guys. They came off of Masters Nationals flying. And with that, you also saw a few other guys from Masters Nationals flying. Chris Phipps, he came by me just up the top of the climb the third time after I'd pulled off from the 45 group behind me. He comes flying over the top, and then you had Jay Newton was trying to catch him. He ends up getting caught up by Graffath, Phil Cicero, and Nick Theobald, and they went through, and that's actually her. Chris Phipps holds everyone off for first, Phil Teixeira in second, Jason Graffath in third, Craig Upton, Nick Theobald, Jay Newton in sixth, Phil Melisapina, Cortex teammate of Teixeira, in sixth. They had a really good sized group, but some of the guys that rode that had been to nationals for the Masters guys ended up doing the P12 race. You had Jonathan Baker, you had Ariel Herman, and that race came down to, look, you also had Cole Davis, who rides for Hagens Berman. He had done the Tour of California. We talked to him. There's a podcast out there with our interview. He just done the Tour of Utah. Comes away with that. It's with a lot of good fitness. And in the end, that's won by Tyler Williams, former BMC, former Israel Cycling Academy pro. Beats out Cole Davis for second. Cooper Shanks, Team Mike's Bikes in third. Talked to him afterwards. He seemed pretty pleasant about how things went. Jonathan Baker, Masters national champion, road race. He was in fifth. Roman Kaloon. Who else do you have here? Andrew Shimizu, 11th place. Josh Carling. that was actually a pretty good field. Who else here? Tyler Pierce, Ariel Herman ends up 30th, though he didn't quite have the day that some of the others. I know Jeremy Cottle, Touchstone. He's a Masters guy too, but he did that race. He did three laps. He said he basically out in the break, and then he quit. So he's like three laps for that. It's pretty good for me. So congratulations to him. We'll just give some results here for a few of the other guys. Yuri Gonzaga of Squadra for the Cat 3s. Chaz Halbert, he was 4th. We talked to him. He said he came out with a climb with that guy and thought things would kind of regroup, and the guy was just a little bit off the front there and just never brought him back. Garrett Smith, 6th place. Who else do we have here? Let's see what the women did. In the women's Pro 1, 2, 3, Amy Cameron, no team. Ellie Velez, 2nd place for Sierra Nevada. Melanie Wong in 3rd place. I think she's for 2020. Anyway, congrats on those. That's a tough race. They weren't going to have it. Then they were going to have it. And they, I guess, got everything cleared up with the CHP. They were able to at least get that back in running order. The next day we had Copperopolis, Copper Valley Circuit Race. We see a Coppertown or something like that. Dave Grunman on 35s. Mark Tucker redeems himself for a podium for 2nd, and Aaron Casada in 3rd. 4th, Aaron Marchand of Teams Folsom Bikes, and Sean Bagley in 5th place for the 35s. We'll just do some highlights here. 45s, Jason Graffath, Thirsty Bear, Rick Lawton, R4R Racing in 2nd, Jerome Nadal. 3rd, R4R also has 4th with Sean Smith, and then Safeway's Robert Pascoe in 5th. Women, one person, so we're not even going to really talk about that group. Sorry. Bring a field to the race, and we'll do a little bit more breakdown. Cat 1, 2, 3, Josh Carling gets the win over his own teammate Isaiah Oliver, and Jake Yackel of the Yackel Brothers Racing, Dave Grunman, Rob Schell coming out of some Masters form for Rob. So we have the Giro San Francisco coming up on Labor Day. Good luck to everyone out there. I'm not doing that. Some people like it. I like it. I also like to not crash, and that's maybe what's going to happen. How about some things that make you go, Well, we talked about it a little bit. It was the Movistar Team Tactics leading the day in the way. I don't know what they're doing. Look, when they're up the road and Nairo's up the road, I think there's a lot of hate going on in that group. It also highlights what you have with the team, and there's a lot of infighting, but yet they're still somewhat professional because these guys, like I said, Soler came back. He helped out Nairo, throwing a fit the whole time. Valverde, man, I wish we just knew. He did a Mikel Landa today where he's, I'm going to bridge up to you, but he's kind of pulling people with him. And like I said, the other day, he was doing a lot of work on the front with Roglic when Nairo was up the road. Nairo was getting dropped. So he's on the front, making sure he's staying dropped. And Nairo connects and he hits it again. I don't know what this team is doing yet. They're in the lead because they've got some great riders despite this. And I like I said, it's they're magical about what they're doing. It looks like they're just all over the place, but yet they've got their guy up in the road. I don't think it's going to last because you're not going to be able to continue this. And man, it was like the Housewives of Movistar today. The infighting, the complaining, the attacking each other. No solidarity. So it'll be interesting to see what takes place for the rest of the race, and especially with those guys. So winners and losers. Let's start with some winners. I'm going to pick, I think Roglic is kind of the guy I'm pulling for here, but Pogacar, 20-year-old racer. You're getting a smattering of these around the world. You get Evenepoel, Bernal, Pogacar won the Tour of California. He wins this. You've got a few others coming up. Sepp Kuss, coming off a Tour of Utah last year, did well at the Vuelta. He's kind of a little bit of a domestic star this year for Roglic, and not having had such a great Giro when I felt like the team really let him down. They seem to be holding them up now, and some of those are the same guys. Sepp Kuss was in the Giro as well. He just wasn't quite there. So he's doing great and given shot for Neilson Powless. So those are some winners. Some losers on the day. You've got Chavez. Who else do we have that's Aru, some of these other guys that Maybe the biggest loser on the day was the broadcast, because they came into that section that was pretty exciting. Maybe the biggest loser on the day was the broadcast. Came into that gravel section where expected a lot of action and kind of exciting. And in the end, we got to see none of it. We didn't get to see the motorbike take down the riders. We didn't get to see riding through all that. And that was from the weather. We've got that from the tour this year. I'm just glad they didn't cancel the race and take time halfway up to climb. That would have been a little more disappointing. But otherwise, look, it's what it is. It makes you realize when we're watching it just from a fixed camera at the top, it's like being at the race though, because you don't know what's going on. You're just waiting for the action. You're just waiting for the riders to come up and go, oh, who's that? And that's exactly what we had today, until somewhat near the end. They just got the cameras going. All right, well, everybody, thank you for joining in. Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 142. We'll get the other guys back in here. We'll get some exciting interviews coming up for you. Check us out, as always, on our Between Two Wheels podcast page on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube, betweentwowheels.com. Twitter, B2W_podcast. Thanks for listening. Thank you for the partners of the show, Chris and Curt. Couldn't be here today, but we'll look for them next time. And once again, as always, Between Two Wheels podcast. Thank you.